Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Creative Summit. Apologies for the late start today. There was just a few constraints. I was on set, and I do apologize to the viewers and everyone that is used to the schedule. So today we have a really interesting session ahead for you guys. We've got Phumelele Radebe, who is more than the faculty of design, or should I say the discipline of design. And we will be touching on anything and everything design. So his journey within the field, his processes as a designer, and just advice for young and upcoming graphic designers. We will also be touching on how he's surviving during this difficult period that we are going through right now. So I would then like to welcome Pume onto our live.
Are we on? Hey, hey, hey. What's up, guys? How
What's
you guys
up,
doing?
bro?
How you doing? Hey, hey, hey.
I'm good, I'm good, Dougie, I'm good, Dougie. Please introduce yourself to the people, bro. Who's Pume Radebe? Where do you come from?
Cool. So, formally, my name is Phumelele Radebe. Most of the people that I work with in the industry call me Pumi. I'm from a small area called Western Area, specifically a neighborhood called Izirbekom. Quiet little
Mm,
neighborhood, former farm plots. Yeah, just off the outskirts of the Johannesburg area. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I am a motion graphics artist, an animator, um, graphic designer, illustrator, basically
Mm,
anything visual. Basically anything visual.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Thank you for that intro. So what would you say design is, bro? Like your profession? Because I hear you touched on illustrating, you touched on motion graphics, and I think people may understand graphics and may not understand that that's what the motion graphics is literally just making it move somewhat. So how would you simplify and explain what design is and what your profession is as an animator or motion graphics?
Um, so if I were to describe design in as simple as I can, design is basically taking an idea that
Mm,
an idea from its inception and then rolling it out to visually then tell a story or a narrative or a message or get a message across. And that could be in the form of illustrating, like I said, it could be in the form of a combination of shapes, colors, and I guess insignias that then create or hold a certain message. So designers are basically people who take an idea and then create something that can then hold that idea visually and then present it to the world. That's basically what a designer does.
awesome. And then what would you say? What is motion graphics? What do you do on a daily, and what does that profession entail?
So, I mean, besides stress, motion graphics,
Yeah.
I would say motion graphics is basically the art of taking any sort of visual design that has been created and bringing it to life.
Mm,
Specifically on screen on any digital platforms. It basically just adds the final character to something that a still image can't get across. That's basically what motion
mm,
graphics does. So it gives whatever you've designed character. You know.
yeah. So basically, just
Yeah.
giving it that edge, not just having a
It's
still
giving it that.
text or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, bro. So how's your journey been? And I mean, I think people may not know. Those who know you, they know already what you've done in the industry, projects and clients that you've worked with. So, how's the
Yeah.
journey been? How's it been like producing content, or should I say, graphics for companies or brands like Nickelodeon, the SAMAs, and how did you get yourself there? If you could just share briefly how
Um.
the journey has been.
Yeah. To be honest, the journey has. I mean, it's been a very unpredictable one. Initially, when I set out to actually break into the industry, I was not planning on being a motion graphics artist. Um, from an academia perspective, I wanted to be an animator, specifically for film and television. But then I slowly started falling in love with the idea of actually just being an all-round creative, because I feel like there's no boundaries and there's no restrictions to what you can do, so long as you actually just are able to create whatever the idea is in accordance to the specs that you need it out at, or whatever you're trying to get across. So I started off working for to be honest, I was lucky enough to work for a big company like VWV. So VWV was the company that I would say is most famous for the FIFA World Cup back in 2010. And once I joined them, I started then digging a bit deeper into motion graphics. I started falling in love with the idea of it because of the freedom, I guess, that the company gave me when it comes to extrapolating ideas that their client base had. It allowed for me to also just broaden my own knowledge on the field. It allowed for me to inject my own unique appeal and approach to design, to motion graphics, to visuals. And slowly but surely, I guess I started just landing in the right spots, taking the right career choices. And yeah, I wound up doing really big things. I mean, like you said, I got on the SAMAs. I also got onto the SAFTAs. So that's the television awards. I did GlowCap for Nigeria. And the most recent, I guess, noticeable work would be the Lite Unlocks Music Festival, the hip hop event where they had Post Malone, Tyler Yahweh, Steve Mill. Yeah, so I think it's been really interesting, somewhat confusing as you go along, because you never really see the bigger picture of where you're headed until you take a step back and you just observe and see what you've accomplished and what you've done so far. Gives you a good indication of what your trajectory is and where you're headed.
Awesome, bro. I think you mentioned quite a lot, and you've done quite a bit as well, bro. I mean, those are massive brands that you're speaking of in terms of your catalog, and I think it feeds more into what I wanted to ask in the sense that what is your process when you get a client or when you get a job, because I'd say people have different workflows, and clearly all these brands and the companies that you've worked with liked how you produce things, since they placed you in jobs for brands that are that big. So what is your process creatively in executing a job?
The first and most important thing is understanding where the brand is trying to go with something. Because once you understand where a brand is trying to go, it's easier for you to then interpret what they may want. It sometimes it's easier to work with a clean canvas, but sometimes you need to know where your parameters are. So when a brand is already sure of what they want to accomplish, it makes it easier for you to say, okay, this is how we can accomplish it, as opposed to a brand giving you an entire baby and saying, okay, you're the one who's going to run this, figure out where we're going, figure out, because then once you get to that point, you're no longer just doing the visual work. Now you're actually doing the back work behind. You're doing the creative design, the creative directing behind something, and that obviously, comes with its own stresses and its own requirements. So with my personal direction, I first need to understand where they're going with it. So I need to get into the mind of the actual brand. I need to understand, with the service that you require from me, what is your end goal? And once I figure that out, it becomes a lot easier for me to place the blocks in a cohesive, in a manner that makes sense for me to then say, okay, cool, this is how we're going to do it visually. So your brief has to be as detailed as possible. And if the brief isn't as detailed as possible, then it allows for me to then say, okay, cool, this is what you guys are missing. What if I slotted this here and this there? Once a client knows what they want, it's easier for me to say, okay, if this is what you want, this is how I will deliver that to you. Yeah.
So what I take from that is that the brief is very important. It's very key in understanding what the client wants, so that you don't work backwards where you've produced an entire video and that's not even what they were looking for.
What they were looking for. Because that does happen quite often. A lot of brands especially brands that haven't had a long running history or don't have, I guess they haven't been around for long enough. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
understand where the direction is. So what they end up doing is they muddy the message. And once you muddy the message, it doesn't make it any easier for the people who are going to work for that brand creatively to say, okay, cool, this is where I'm going to contribute to make sure that we get that, we accomplish that mission, or the very thing that you set out to accomplish, we can get it right. If you know what you want, then it's easier for me to say, okay, cool, this is how I can make sure that you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get you, bro. That's very insightful info, because I think a lot of, I mean, I've been a victim of that, where don't ask for a brief, you just agree to doing the job. You do the job and
Yeah,
it's not even what they want. So it sets you
yeah,
back, and at the
yeah,
same time, sometimes you can't even say you'll charge extra, because that becomes a whole revision round, but it's more work for you. So
yeah.
I think that's a very solid point. So, bro, how
Yeah.
have you been keeping afloat during this pandemic, man? Both personally and for the business. How have you been keeping afloat?
Look, business wise, I think I've been blessed with colleagues, connections, clients, and people who just want to continue doing work with me. I can
Mm,
imagine where I would have been had I not actually established myself as much as I had. Because what usually happens is, when you end up working under a company, your name specifically
mm,
does not stand out. The company's name
yeah,
stands out. Whatever you have
yeah,
contributed to the company's successes is not synonymous to your name, because they can't attach a face to it. They can only attach the company. So
company, yeah,
with the connections that I was able to make, and also the people that I've been able to work with over the years, I guess I've gathered that trust in saying, look, we have this much amount of work, and it's very limited thanks to COVID, but we would like to continue working with you. And I think that's taken me a very long way. It's allowing for me to continue thriving, continue growing in my career in a time that's so uncertain for a lot of creatives.
mm,
And when it comes to personally, I mean, I've got a supportive, I've got a supportive set of people in my life. I've got my partners, I've got my coworkers, I've got the family.
yeah,
So they allow for me to clear my head and get rid of all the anxieties and the uncertainties that come with things like this. You know what I mean? Because to be
yeah,
honest, COVID does not really test you financially; it also tests you mentally. So i've
true.
i've gotten the support, and I've been able to actually think a lot more progressively, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy at the fact that I'm in the position that I'm in.
No, that's amazing, bro. I think you mentioned another key point where, I mean, the mental state that a whole lot of people, both creatives and just people within corporate, are facing from just being so
Yeah,
isolated is has been so crazy. So it's amazing that you've got that support from your friends to say, "Yo,
yeah,
bro, no matter what, I mean, we're gonna get through this thing one day."
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's important to surround
It's
yourself
really,
people that are, yeah.
mm, yeah, yeah. No, like you were saying, sorry to cut you off. It is important to surround yourself with people who want to see you do better, and also are willing to go beyond themselves to make sure that you're okay. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have people like that and you just get the bare minimums,
Yeah,
then naturally so, when you're in an environment that does not allow for you to thrive, all you're going to do is just keep sinking with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I think at the end of the day, that support is like very key, bro. Um, and what
Mm.
would you say during this journey of yours now, right? I mean, this pandemic has already served as a challenge for everyone, especially within the creative industry. What are some of the hurdles, bro, that you've been through, and how did you get through them? And I think with that question, it'll be a two-part question. What advice
Yeah.
would you give now to young creatives in general and designers in the industry, so that they possibly don't get exploited, or they possibly go through certain things easily?
Um, with the hurdles personally that I've had to go through, I think most of my hurdles had been subjective. They were personal hurdles. It wasn't
Mm,
external forces; it was actually internal forces. Because when you're not sure of your own skills and your own capabilities, it's a bit hard to actually go out there and wholeheartedly put the work in that you require in order to grow. You know what I mean? In order to become a better person, in order to become a better creative, in order to elevate yourself above whatever level that you're at. And to be honest, I still have a very long way to go. There's a lot that I continue to learn today, and because of the environment and the industry that I'm in, I really have a full understanding that there is absolutely no such thing as knowing everything. Absolutely not. Every single day is an opportunity to learn. So I guess adaptability has also been another thing that has allowed for me to get to where I am. And hopefully it's something that I do not lose anytime soon, because when you can adapt to the change, you can actually make sure that you stay afloat. And dare I say that when you are incredibly adaptable and you're intuitive of where the industry is going, you can then stand at the forefront of where the industry goes, of what's new and where is everybody else headed. As for the advice that I would give for other people to get to the limit or to get to the level rather that I'm at, which to be honest, once again, like I'm saying, I am not anywhere near where I want to be. But I'm making good ground, to make good strides to making sure I get there, is to keep learning. Always be open to new ideas. Never be content with the fact that you just made something good, because you know that you can make something better. And the worst thing, or let me not even say the worst thing, but the one thing that I've learned about the industry is you've created this beautiful product and you're proud of this product, but you need to understand that you can't keep that product on the shelf forever. 5 minutes, look at it, be happy at what you've done, take that, put it aside, make space for another one, because you have to keep going. If you stay in one place, you're actually not staying in one place. You're becoming worse, and you're becoming even less of the creative that you want to be, because things always change. You know what I mean? It's the equivalent of saying I'm going to stay on the fourth floor when I know that there's a flood at the bottom. Eventually, the water's going to get to you, so you have to keep going. You got to keep climbing. Yeah. So don't be content. Don't be comfortable. Yeah.
That's amazing, bro. I mean, I think you close it off quite nicely, in the sense that people just need to continue working and at the same time learning.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank you, bro, for coming on board today. I know that we will have a longer session where we will get more in depth now into the experiences that you've had and people that you've worked with, and how that was. So thank you so much for giving insight on this today. Anyone that wants to contact you can actually check onto your handles. Can you actually give us your handles, bro, for Instagram and Facebook? Yeah.
So the handles for Instagram and Twitter are thatbroeon. I will be very blunt with you. The handle that I give you is mostly for my music. However, if you do wish to conduct business and discuss business, it can definitely be done on there as well. And of course, once you get into my Instagram and my Twitter, you can get to my emails, and that's where we can actually have the business talks.
Awesome, bro. Thank you so much for coming through today, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Awesome, bro. Have a good day.
You too, man.
Cheers, bro. So we just wrapped up our convo with Pumi. I hope that was insightful. Despite the technical difficulties that we've been having, it's mainly my connection, because I'm on the road right now. Like I said, when we started, just wrapped a set and we are just moving to another one. So thank you so much for tuning in. For people that have further comments or questions regarding this specific field, you can comment down below. You can even go onto our YouTube and further just ask us the questions. We will send them to Pumi. Should you have any direct things that you want to ask, you can also just speak to him directly. We will have a longer conversation with him for the YouTube content, or should I say rather the Creative Summit, the longer Creative Summit that we will put up as a YouTube series. And keep forwarding those questions. Please do tune in. Tomorrow we will be back again. We will announce who we have for tomorrow. But like I said, it's everything within the creative and the entertainment business, because this is one of the, should I say, what, one of the industries that are really suffering right now, and we're not getting much support from the government and other entities. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will see you tomorrow.